I didn't really see it as something I was going to change. I mean, I've seen all the films, and I'm aware of what kind of cinematic experiences fans expect when they go to see a Transformers films, and that's style, that's spectacle, that's cutting edge visual effects, that's high octane action sequences, and so I wanted to make sure that this film had that. Obviously through my own prism, but the thing that was the most important to me in this movie was to tell this emotional story, to really give the film a strong beating heart at the core of it. And it's fundamentally about relationships, it's about love, it's about empathy, and I think people might be surprised that a Transformers film would be about that.
Bumblebee, the spin-off, prequel, reboot, reimagining of the latest entry in the Transformers movie franchise. It is also the first entry in the franchise where the Decepticons actually have characterizations and don't either just make noises or just say typical evil bad guy phrases.
This is not your planet to rule. No prisoners, only trophies. You see my face, your life is done. I'll suck your brains.
The movie stars Haley Steinfeld as Charlie Watson, John Cena as bad military guy, George Lendeborg Jr. as sex pest, and Bumblebee, the second most seen character in this movie, is Bumblebee. Not Shia LaBeouf going, no, 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 no.
Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no! No, 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 no.
Not Megan Fox's ass. No B-plot showing off the importance of the American military. No John Turturro in his underpants. Doesn't go to different countries because of some bullshit artifact that's been on the planet for millions of years. No, this movie is the most Transformers the Transformers franchise has ever been. Robots who crash on Earth have to learn Earth's culture. Classic fish out of water setting. Not a plot about robots that not only have been living here already, but know more about human history than humans until sometimes they don't. Now, this is the legit first time since maybe the 2007 movie that it's actually been about robots in disguise. This movie does so much course correcting and getting the franchise back on track that of course it's not doing well at the box office. So let's get into it. So a short while before the worst movie ever written, shot, and edited visually assaulted its way onto the big screen, Paramount announced what they were hoping would be the first of many spin-offs, trying to make the Transformers franchise an expanded universe, in the form of Bumblebee, to which my first reaction was, done. Before I'd even seen the horrible fifth entry in this movie series, all I could see were dollar signs. Bumblebee is essentially the Pikachu of this franchise, and there are 50,000 toys of this thing. So a spin-off of Bumblebee is like a no-brainer for dollar signs, until I saw the trailer.
I'll drive, but don't pick the car. Car pick the driver.
Once the trailer hit, I clicked on it with a pre-cynical attitude, and already, something was different. This trailer didn't start off like a horror movie. All Michael Bay Transformer movie trailers, they all look like end-of-the-world horror movies.
I just had a full-blown mental meltdown in the middle of my class.
Forgive me.
So in an instant, the first trailer and the two that followed got me so excited that I had to record my trailer thoughts videos. To which at the time I stated that this film will be giving us something that I have been waiting for the past decade. Transformers in the hands of a different director. For the past 11 years, we got a decent introduction to the universe of a live-action Transformers world, and then an over-bloated franchise run by a man who clearly hates nerd culture and loves football and cars. 5 movies that show in both the directing and writing that we don't need to look at what the dumb cartoon and toy line had, let's just make up our own trash. Like, you notice that there isn't a single interview, aside from like DVD extras of Michael Bay talking about the story or characters of which he is adapting to the big screen. It's always like, what technology is he incorporating into the movies, like the IMAX cameras or 3D cameras. Barely can be seen talking about the actual story or robot characters. Notice how he never takes the movies to like Comic-Con or TFCon? Meanwhile, cut to the new director of Travis Knight, takes Bumblebee straight to Comic-Con and also feels guilt that he has a character that looks like an original G1 Transformers character, but is actually another G1 Transformers character.
I'm gonna break a few hearts here today. It is not Starscream. I know.
No, but it's
all will be revealed when you see the film. That is a character called Blitzwing. He's super awesome, and he has that same design aesthetic as a G1 Seeker, and it was an opportunity to again weave that thing in while still trying to do something different.
Even though Blitzwing was a triple changer and didn't have the body of a Seeker, but whatever, I'll take this guilt over this.
Q was initially modeled on a character from the mythology named Wheeljack, who was an inventor and a technical specialist.
Initially, it was sort of, okay, it's Q from James Bond, sort of, and the first take I did on it, Michael, rightly so, said, that's a Pixar design, that's not our movie. Like, that, it's too cartoony and it's too kind of cute, and I don't like it. Then sort of a mandate came down, honestly, I think it was from Spielberg, why don't you make him look like Albert Einstein? Literally.
So we have two types of films here with Bumblebee. We have a prequel showing how Bumblebee arrived on Earth and what he got up to before meeting Sam Witwicky, but also not really, because too many signs point to reboot. And also, as well as this movie being set in the 80s, it's actually an 80s movie. And no, not just because it's set in the 80s, they have a title at the start that says the 1980s. And then the rest of the movie could just be set in any decade, and they only have one pop cultural reference to something in the 80s. No. This is an actual 80s movie. This director, Travis Knight, you can tell he's like an actual artist and knows how to work not only within a franchise, but also within a style without resulting to just references. So we have Charlie Watson, a teenager whose father recently passed away, working a crummy job. The popular kids give a shit. Classic 80s teen tropes. She is also working part-time at this car scrapyard. So her personality traits is she's a gearhead, but like an actual one. There are long-running plot points in this movie where she's like working on cars and she's trying to get her dad's old car working again, can help Bumblebee with the car parts of his robot body, which also leads to her meeting Bumblebee. She doesn't just open a bonnet of some crusty old Camaro, notice that it has some souped-up modern-day slick fast engine, says that her dad taught her cars, so then later she knows to grab a buzzsaw to cut up this thing, and then never do anything with cars again until the sequel where she's bending over a bike and painting something onto it. And then got fired for accusing Adolf Hitler of being like Michael Bay. But as I said before, with Travis Knight not working in reference only. By that I mean, like, Charlie doesn't go like, whoa, this evil robot's like Darth Vader from Empire. Can't we just kill the robots with like proton packs from Ghostbusters? Or running away from that robot felt like the Indiana Jones running away from the boulder scene. What I'm mostly making fun of is that X-Men movie where they bag out Return of the Jedi, as if there were hipsters back then who had modern day opinions of sequels, rather than just going nuts because it's another Star Wars movie, which we still have today. And like Nightcrawler has a Michael Jackson Thriller jacket, and Quicksilver does the moonwalk. But this movie feels like it was made in the 80s. Like, just the clothing that the extras are wearing, like the actual stupid, colorful, flary clothes. And even the cars in the background are just like bland 80s cars. There isn't a Firebird Trans Am parked in every driveway. Yeah, it's good. Now, all that being said, this movie as a movie is a reference to other movies, such as E.T. or The Iron Giant. A kid befriends an alien, or a robot alien. But those are just comparisons you'll have to make regardless. For what this movie really is, for the most part, is a John Hughes movie with an alien robot car in it. It sticks in this teenage girl coming-of-age story, but it also commits to it. It's also very similar to the 2007 Transformers movie. Kid meets alien car, thrown into battle between an alien race as well as the human military. The difference here is Charlie Watson isn't a psycho who is sweating and hyper and sharing the screen time with the American military unit fighting the same problem, as well as computer hackers that are on the run from the government. No, for the first half of this movie is Charlie and Bumblebee forming a strong relationship, helping each other get through their respective life issues. This movie even has a nice little setup of Charlie formerly being a diver, like professional diving, not just jumping in the water. It's set up many times early on. She goes to throw out her old diving trophies. Bumblebee finds a video of her diving at the local pool with her dad. And a moment pops up later on where Bumblebee drives her and a new creepy boyfriend to the cool hangout with all the cool kids, and she has like a moment to prove her coolness by diving off of a cliff. But she can't because her dream of diving died with her father. But then it gets paid off later, and spoilers, but not really because it was in the first teaser trailer. She dives into the water to save Bumblebee, but she doesn't just jump in the water, like she dives. Like touch your toes with your hands, and this awesome camera movement follows with her. Oh man, you don't know how refreshing it is to see things that are set up and paid off. But not like a cliche thing where one time early on someone's like, this is the big super bomb. Don't touch it, could blow up the planet. And then you know that's going to be how they defeat the bad guy later in the end. Nah, just nice simple script that knows exactly how it's going to start, continue, and finish. Not just 50 things happening at once, nothing is set up or paid off, or setups are then forgotten and then something else is paid off. Like Bumblebee needs a voice box. Well, back to the radio talking. But he just talks later anyway.
Okay, B.
Done.
Come on, buddy, sit up. Let's hear it.
Real voice. For the first time, buddy. Belt it out.
This is so exciting. Oh no, this isn't my damn voice.
I'm gonna kill him, B.
This is such bullshit.
You know what? I'm not giving up. All right? You're gonna speak with your own voice one day.
I am Bumblebee, your oldest friend. Optimus, I would lay down my life for you.
Also, character montage! You're making an 80s movie, you need those montages. This movie has a great one of just Charlie's life being shit. I was literally waiting for her to be so depressed that she goes to a warehouse to dance her feelings away. And while we're on the topic of montages, something else that also captures the 80s spirit in a modern day setting, I highly recommend the YouTube series Cobra Kai. This is one of the most beautiful things ever made. It starts off with this like pathetic 80s nostalgia tone, like Johnny is trapped in the 80s and can't move on. But then as the show goes on, it becomes an 80s movie. And when montages happen, you just get pumped. Now, you may have noticed that I haven't actually been talking a lot about Bumblebee and the rest of the Transformers element of this movie, because that brings me to my next point. So this movie literally starts off with the only thing any Transformers fan has ever wanted to see in a live action movie called Transformers: the war on Cybertron. I'll be getting into sort of spoilers, but this is what you see in the very first seconds of the movie. I'll go into proper spoilers in a bit, but just in case for safety, here's the time code when spoilers are done. Straight away, this movie opens with a raging war on an alien planet. Text at the bottom of the screen simply says Cybertron. And my god, the very next shot is like, you know how you look at the Bayformer designs and it's just like, yeah, Optimus. Yeah, you can tell that's Optimus. Yeah, Bumblebee is like yellow and black, I guess. And Ironhide and Ratchet, yeah, they don't really look like their classic characters. Yeah, Starscream and Megatron, don't really recognize them at all. Yeah, so when Bumblebee starts off, it's just like, oh fuck, RC, Ratchet, Wheeljack, Cliffjumper, Brawn. Holy shit, I know those characters. Soundwave sounds like Soundwave.
Bumble, activate pile drivers. Operation Tidal Wave. Decepticons, attack!
One of my earliest concerns are the designs they showed in the trailer to G1 to just shut the fans up. Then I realized that I have to hold off my judgment until I see the footage in context, and not just in the trailer. And yeah, they are blocky G1 Transformers, and they work. Optimus is now identical to his G1 counterpart, and my god, he now looks bold, strong, and just like a leader. Now, there are Bayformer designs I still like, but like, come on, he can't actually take the full credit for them, because they're actual concept artists for these things. And like, are you ready to call this man an artist? But as a director that just came off of a successful animated movie, you'll have to be a bit of an artist, seeing as the entire movie has to be designed before you start animating. There is no shooting the shit out of anything and then just slapping an edit together for a stop motion movie. But after 11 years of junkyard explosions, metal scraps on scraps, we now know that the traditional designs can be done. And done so damn well. Just seeing the side-by-side shot of Optimus jumping through the air. Yeah, I think we can happily move on from this one.
Is the future of our race not worth a single human life? You'll never stop at one. They slaughtered Ratchet. I'm gonna tear them apart. But the day will never come that we forsake this planet and its people.
Now, after the nerdgasm checklist of seeing so many fan-favorite Transformers in the opening, the majority of this film focuses on only 4: Bumblebee, Dropkick, Blitzwing, and the character invented purely for this film, Shatter. As mentioned before, the movie opens with an epic final battle of Cybertron. The Decepticons are pushing the Autobots to the brink of defeat. Optimus meets up with Bumblebee, who at the time is called B-127. He quickly whips out a hologram of Earth and is like, "B, you'll have to go here and set up a camp, and we'll meet you there in a bit, mate." Which is a bit tacky, I guess. Just being like,
"This is Earth, and you go here now."
But then again, there was probably like no time for context. I'm pointing this out probably because I played the PS3 game of Transformers Fall of Cybertron, and in that game they brilliantly set up how the Transformers are aware of Earth and how their plans are to go there at the end of the game. Both War 4 and Fall of Cybertron are great games, and sort of a compliment to the beginning of this movie. Until High Moon Studios went bankrupt because they wanted to make a Deadpool game. And the third entry in the series went to some other company and they fucking whipped up some shitty continuation. As well as connected to Transformers Age of Extinction. That series bombed, and now this movie is struggling at the box office. Why can't we have nice things? Anywho, so Bumblebee crash lands on Earth right near where John Cena is doing some paintball exercise with his squad of military mates. They start chasing Bumblebee and then a mysterious jet enters the scene. Blitzwing. They get into a big old scuffle as seen in the trailers, and this is where we see Bumblebee lose his voice box. He gets horrifically damaged in battle and loses his memory functions, so for the rest of the movie he's like a child relearning things. But not just of himself, but also of human culture. Meanwhile, 2 Decepticons then crash land in town. Dropkick and Shatter. And my god, these two are such a delight. No Decepticon in this series has ever been characters before. Just fodder or reoccurring fodder. The scene starts off with this redneck couple. The guy loves his muscle car more than his wife. And a meteorite crashes near them and he's like all relieved because the car was untouched. But then a second meteorite crash lands on his car. And he is all upset, but then out of the fire, his car drives out on its own. Then transforms into Shatter and then is joined by Dropkick and a blue muscle car. And then they start talking.
Destroy the launch pad. Let none escape.
Mostly what follows in the rest of this movie is just Charlie teaching Bumblebee how to stay hidden from humans, as well as so much adorable shenanigans ensue. All of it is so fun, and I'd rather you all just see it for yourselves. At the same time, Dropkick and Shatter make a deal with the humans to tap into our satellites to find Bumblebee, with the promise of trading alien technology. This is one of the most refreshing aspects of this movie. The Decepticons are actually deceptive.
We are Decepticon peacekeepers, patrolling the galaxy.
What are you doing? This is humiliating.
We believe a dangerous criminal from our world is hiding somewhere on yours.
Like they trick the humans and pretend to be our allies. And also, the all-American soldiers were wrong. They get fucked over by the Decepticons. So it is literally in the hands of our protagonist. No, Charlie and Bumblebee get in way over their heads, and then
America, fuck yeah! Coming again to save the motherfucking day, yeah! America, fuck yeah! Freedom is the only way, yeah!
No, the fate of the world actually falls in their hands. And now, for actual spoilers. So I love this movie. Don't know if that was clear or not. The first few fucking seconds of this movie, my eyes lit up, and just seeing characters I know just set my mood for the rest of the movie. But a major issue of this movie comes from whether or not it's a full reboot. I am more than happy for this movie to have its Bumblebee and the Bayformers Bumblebee cosmetically look the same. I'm happy with Sector 7 in it to be the government organization that has the knowledge of what Transformers are, but there is some weird confusion going on if whether or not it actually connects to the Bayverse. There is an interview with Travis Knight talking about how he wanted to have a scene with Megatron on Cybertron, but he had to say that it wasn't possible because Megatron is meant to be frozen on Earth at this time, to which in this movie Sector 7 has no knowledge of Transformers, but in the 2007 movie, they say that Megatron was discovered by the original 7. He was found and transported to Hoover Dam in the 1930s. So, also Shockwave, RC, Soundwave, and Starscream, none of them match the Bayformers designs at all. This movie ends with Bumblebee transforming into the 1970s Camaro as seen in the 2007 movie, but then he meets up with Optimus on the Golden Gate Bridge. So Optimus is already on Earth. Meanwhile, he arrived in 2007, unless in between 1987 and 2007 he went somewhere else and came back. But at the end of this movie, Bumblebee and Optimus are walking through a forest at night, and they look up into the sky and they see like 6 meteorites heading towards Earth, when only 4 land on Earth in 2007, including Optimus. So who are these 6? This is just something that is frustrating. Just keep going on the reboot track. If 11 years of this overly bloated, overcompensating for a lack of plot, messy filth can ignore its own continuity, then this wonderfully well-made entry can ignore those too. And being set so much earlier, it doesn't ever need to connect. This is such a solid, fresh start. Why ruin it by sending it in a horrible direction? The world has now opened up. There is so much of this movie I have skipped over purely because I want you all to see it for yourselves. This movie isn't by any means the best movie ever made, but it is such a great Transformers movie. It shows non-Transformer fans why Transformers fans like Transformers. And this is something that is so shit. I cannot wait to see what follows after this movie. With Travis Knight giving some much needed life to this franchise, we could see some incredible stories to come, but it's not doing well at the box office. And if this channel has any power at all to make some sort of impact, I encourage all of you to go see it while you can. And if you have Michael Bay fatigue, this is a breath of fresh air. The movie isn't mind-blowing by any stretch of the imagination, but it is such a solid start to a new beginning. It has given something this franchise was in dire need of, not in terms of action, CGI, or a stellar cast of Hollywood stars, but a soul. One of my best 650 out of 650s I've ever spent, and I'll be going back again now that A Very Merry Doomsmas is finished. And if you think it's boring, an E.T. ripoff, and the Bayformer designs were better because they actually looked alien, well then you have 5 movies with hundreds of hours of diarrhea to shove in your eyeballs. But us Transformers fans, we want something with heart.